For those who need a quick refresher, in the original Gladiator, Lucius is Lucilla's, Connie Nielsen, young son, whose life is saved by Maximus, Russell Crowe, after the final battle. The sequel takes place years after the first film ends, with Lucius all grown up and ready to embark on his own journey. Let's go back to the first film. Marcus Aurelius Commodus Antoninus, played by Joaquin Phoenix, was a Roman emperor who reigned from 177 to 192, perhaps the worst Roman emperor of all time. So who was he? The story of Commodus' rise and fall from grace begins in the late summer of 161 AD. The future emperor was born not in Rome, but in Superscript 1 Lanuvium in southern Italy. The son and heir of Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius Commodus, at the age of 12, saw that his bath water was not heated enough and ordered the servant in charge to throw it into the oven. According to historian and contemporary Commodus Dion Cassius, at the age of 19, Commodus poisoned his beloved father and became head of state. According to director Ridley Scott's Gladiator, Commodus, played by Joaquin Phoenix, strangled his father. However, many historians argue that Marcus Aurelius may have died of an infectious disease, possibly the plague. Regardless of how or if he killed his father, no one disputes that from the moment Commodus took over as Roman ruler in 180 AD, it was almost all downhill for the Roman Empire. In the 84 years before Commodus's rule, known as the Five Good Emperors, Rome flourished under the rule of Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, and Commodus' father, the distinguished philosopher Emperor Marcus Aurelius. His worst mistake was his unstable 16-year-old son who succeeded him. Commodus was obsessed with sports and sex. Along with his wife Crispina and a mistress named Marcia, he kept a harem of 600 concubines, divided equally between young women and men. He handed the administration of the empire over to his mistress and a few of his concubines. In the film, his real-life sister, the cunning Lucilla, played in the film by Connie Nielsen, tends to the affairs of state while fending off her brother's advances. Commodus wanted to be recognized as divine, so he took to wearing a lion's skin in imitation of the god Hercules. This did not stop him from dressing in women's clothing, however. He enjoyed drinking, gambling, chariot racing, and hunting, but his greatest passion was he considered himself a great gladiator. The first gladiators of Rome, the Latin word gladius means sword, fought in 264 BC. Gladiators were chained together and fought in pairs. It was thought that the losers would serve the winners in the afterlife. The first fight scene of the movie accurately depicts these chained pairs. Commodus cost the Roman treasury a devastating amount of 25,000 pieces of silver for each of his gladiator appearances. Unfortunately, unlike the movie where he only fought once, he fought in the arena hundreds of times. According to Herodian, who wrote the history of the empire in 8 books between 180 and 238 AD, in gladiator fights he easily defeated his opponents and they all bowed to him, simply because they knew he was the emperor, not because he was really a gladiator. He once fought a group of crippled and feeble Romans. He disguised them as monsters and armed them with sponges made to look like stone, then shot arrows at them. After winning, he always enjoyed smearing his victims' blood on his clothes and hair. One historian wrote, he never appeared in public without being stained with blood. Cities, days of the week were named. Commodus also liked to name things in his honor. For example, he renamed the cities of Rome and Jerusalem, and the days of the week after him. In 190, he issued a formal edict that his rule should be called the Golden Age and rebuilt the city of Rome, declaring himself the new Romulus. Commodus gave gold to the people and the army, distracting them. To pay for his generosity, he taxed the rich heavily, and as a result, earned the hatred of the nobility as a traitor to his own senatorial class. Roman coins from the period show Commodus growing from a friendly teenager to an unstable and scattered adult. When his mistress Marcia learned of his name on the list of those to be executed, she gave Commodus a glass of poisoned wine. The wine numbed and sickened him, but did not kill him. Commodus was strangled in a bathtub on New Year's Eve 192 by one of his supposed friends, a wrestler named Narcissus. The film ends very differently. When Commodus was killed on December 31, 192, Pertinax, who served as the leader of the Roman imperial guard, declared himself emperor the next morning. He ruled Rome for a short period of 86 days. When he was killed by his own soldiers, Septimius Severus, who took his place, ruled the Roman Empire for 18 years, equals 193-211. In a speech he made to the senators, he praised Commodus, who did not like senators and was famous for his cruelty. He demanded that the senators, who were happy to be free of Commodus' death, deify Commodus, whom he called my brother in his speech. He even had 69 senators arrested and 29 of them killed. When Septimius Severus ascended to the imperial throne after a difficult process, he had already lost his first wife and wanted to marry again. Since divination and witchcraft were common in ancient Rome, he asked his oracles to identify the right candidate to choose his queen. Thereupon, they said that the person who would be worthy of the queenship was a woman named Julia Domna, born in Syria. When the emperor saw Julia, he was truly enchanted. According to the sources, it is said that she was a very beautiful woman even in her old age. The beautiful Julia Domna gave Septimius 2 sons, Geta and Caracalla, Lucius. The younger brother Geta had always been in the shadow of his older brother Caracalla. These 2 sons had always fought each other throughout their lives and grew up as 2 rivals for the throne, but they had never harmed each other while their father was alive. In order to balance this situation a little, the emperor gave his younger son Geta the title of Augustus, which many Roman emperors used, in 209. The 2 brothers began to rule the country together, as their father had said. However, things did not go well. Both of them wanted to be the sole ruler of the country. Caracalla, who had the support of the army, was not going to let his brother share the rule. Their mother Julia Domna called them both to her house on December 26, 211 in order to resolve the disagreements between the 2 brothers. Caracalla stabbed his brother to death without mercy in front of his mother. Geta was only 22 years old when he was killed by his brother. The new emperor put everyone who opposed him to the sword, according to sources, 20,000 people, and not content with that, he tried to destroy everything in Rome that belonged to his brother Geta. Caracalla, who tried to act like his father in the administration, soon turned his mercenaries into executioners. At first, he put around 20,000 young people to the sword under the pretext of recruiting all the young people in Alexandria. In this way, Alexandria was left defenseless. The next day, after gathering all the people in the square and putting them to the sword, all that remained was a city that he burned and destroyed. After this last incident, he went down in the records as the most brutal emperor of Rome. On August 8, 217, the cruel emperor was torn to pieces on the way to Haran, which was considered sacred.